Morning, everyone, and we are here for the Sunday mindset session. Myself and Tony Meredith, or should I say Tony Meredith and myself. So hopefully everyone has a great start to the morning. How are you, Tony? You look very nice and relaxed there, mate.
And I'm relaxed. I'm just in the camp chair at the front of my place, social distancing, isolating. Just kick back and relax. So not going to get out to the park, mate, where I normally go. Because I'm fearful I'm going to end up with a $1,500 fine. So I just sit in the front yard and kick back with all the flora and fauna.
Mate, it might be a good time to just kick back and relax, wouldn't you think? Like this is, at times we can be a little bit hustle and bustle around, and a little bit times of going at 1,000 miles an hour, but it is a bit of a time for reflect and relax and take it in. And what we want to really talk about today is the whole thing about what are you doing in lockdown. So bit of stillness, bit of calmness. I'm noticing this about, what's going on and different things that are happening with myself as well. So we all need to consider these things. And a big hello to David Pramila. Davina's come on and says morning. Greg has made it on right on time. Good on you, Greg. And he waves as well. So good to see everyone in this regards. Tony, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that it's important to have balance. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm not suggesting we do total relaxation, because I'm sure there's a number of people who are doing that and kicking back and watching Netflix, and there's others at the other end of the spectrum who are, out there full bore. I think it's about balance. And it's a very different time, obviously. And I believe it's a great time to stop, reflect, and just appreciate all the things that we've currently got. It's very easy to come at things from a position of lack. One thing that I'm saying to everybody who I speak to is that we've all got an enormous amount of time. So I think I said it here last week, but we used to use no time as the reason for not doing a myriad of different things. Well, that's now BS, because we've got an enormous amount of time. I accept that there are some people who are busier than ever, but I'm saying generally speaking, we've got an enormous amount of time. So the question is, which is what we're going to talk about today, is how are you going to spend that time?
Yeah, it's a big one for all of us to consider. Johnny, Mum, Tony Gallagher, and Tony says good morning as well. So everyone brought up early this morning at 8 a.m. for the Sunday mindset session. I know that you did
45 sessions in.
45 sessions in, 45 weeks in a row of the Sunday mindset session. How good is it?
So it takes 66 days to form a habit. Tony Gallagher will know that. It takes 66 days to form a habit. So what's 45 weeks? 45 weeks. Wow, we're like at 300 days since we first started the Sunday mindset session. So well and truly formed the habit. So everyone's alarm clock goes off at 10 to 8 on a Sunday morning. They're up and they're into it. What a great way to start your Sunday.
Absolutely. It's good to have that consistency going, right? I'm up to 800 and I think it's 45 days in a row of running. So
wow,
there's building a habit if you've ever seen one.
Wow, have you formed the habit yet? Do you think?
Oh, just a couple. It's a dead set.
Mate, what's the goal, mate? Is the goal to get to 4 figures?
I have no idea yet. Well, look, that's probably the next target, is getting to 1,000. So I will accomplish that this year if basically keep going. So Tony Gallagher says, well done on the 45. Yes, well done. We love it. And only another 5 weeks to the big 50. So looking forward to reaching those milestones along the way. And I think it really, really puts us in towards something about thinking forward, Tony, and having something to look forward to in the future. That's a big one for all of us. And I think, even during this lockdown period where, the Prime Minister comes out and says, we'll be here for another 4 weeks, it gives people a little bit of guidance, a little bit of structure in terms of where they're going for the next period. But we just don't know with all this uncertainty that is happening. So I guess each and every day of thinking about something to look forward to could be a good thing to work on for yourself.
Oh, it's huge. It's about having purpose. It's that simple, Luke. And if you just park COVID-19 for a moment, regardless of what time it is in your life, it's always important to look forward, because you want to have something to bound out of bed for. You want to have something that you're chasing, down the road, whether down the road might be a day, a week, a month, a year, whatever it might be. So you want to have something that gives you the catalyst to move in a forward direction. Because if you haven't got something to move forward, well, then you're moving backwards, right? And so now you're dwelling on the past, you're not progressing forward. And if you're not progressing forward and the rest of the world is progressing forward, then you're actually getting further and further behind. So my strong advice is, regardless of what time of year it is, and I know we're going to talk specifically about COVID, but regardless of what time of year it is, always have something in front of you that you can look forward to.
Good one there. Janelle's come on. Lynn has also joined us. Mark Heritage, good to have you on as well. Tony Gallagher says, Forrest Gump just stopped running and went home. What's Luke going to do? Who knows?
He's going to keep running. He's just going to keep running. Tony, that's the simple solution there. I don't think Luke is ever going to stop.
Alex, good to have you on as well. And Guy says Bazinga, and Guy also says hope as well. I don't know about hope. I don't know what he's referring to in that regard. So, Tony, one thing you did do in terms of, we talked about the sort of slowing down, speeding up, and all that thing. And it was an interesting one that I put a post up during the week about are people actually slowing down during this time, or are you increasing your speed? So that's an interesting one. And I know this week you did some speed coaching. So that's kind of an interesting one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I did. It was with your sister Celeste, and hi Celeste, if you're watching, thank you for the opportunity. Look, it was a whole lot of fun. It was something very different. I've never done speed dating. I've been married for a long time, but speed coaching. It was where there was 6 coaches, 6 people who wanted to be coached, and it was 10 minutes, and it was rapid fire. So you'd go off into a little breakout room. You'd have a one-on-one, and you come back into the communal room and back in, and it was great fun. It was a whole a great new concept, and good on Celeste for having the initiative to look to bring coaches and people who want coaching together at this point in time. Look, she's doing it all the time as well. So her business is called Me After Work.
Big
I'm
plug
not sure
there.
of the exact. No, I'm always plugging, mate, whether it be me, you, whoever. But no, Me After Work, and so she's running it again. I believe in a few weeks' time. So if you want to get some free coaching, then go to Me After Work. I'll be diving back in sometime in May, but there'll be other coaches on as well. So
I think I'm going to be participating one stage, and I've actually been on both ends of the spectrum there, being a participant and being a coach as well. So it's really interesting to get both perspective, and I think even us people that are sort of coaching anyone. So I'm coaching in the property space and getting people in plans and strategies about wealth creation. Tony, you're doing it in terms of business and so forth, things about life, and it really brings everyone into a perspective of, even as a coach, it's good to have advisors and coaches, and this is what Tony and I do with each other every Sunday, don't we, Tony?
100%, because you all want to aspire to, well, not all, but a lot of people want to aspire to be bigger and better than where they are, and we all need, we quite often we can't see the wood for the trees. And we're caught up in our own stuff, and it's great to have someone who looks in from a different perspective and said, well, hey, have you considered A, B, C, and D? And you go, oh, no, I hadn't. So, and quite often, and that's the role of a coach. The role of a coach, I'm not here to sell coaching, but the role of the coach is to simply provide insights and guidance to those people who can't see it, but then also from an accountability point of view. I also help from a strategy development point of view with my business clients, but it's all about getting people to move forward and progress, because we think we're doing okay, but the reality is we're not doing the things that we think we should be doing because we're caught up in our own head in a lot of cases. And that's why we started the whole idea of the mindset session, because mindset is the absolute foundation for everything, whether it be in your life, whether it be you have a property business or a small business or you're an employee in a relationship. It doesn't really matter. Your mindset is going to be the foundation or the cornerstone for your success in all those areas. And so it's so important to make sure you're taking the time to get that right.
Well, I guess mindset's about action as well, and you're not going to move it through with anything if you're not taking action on things. So you've got to get your mindset right first. So I totally agree with Tony. Guy says even the Dalai Lama needs someone. It's kind of interesting.
Everyone needs someone, a confidant, a mentor, a coach, someone to hold them to account, someone to help them see some clarity when perhaps they're caught up. Because the reality is we do get caught up in our own stuff. And it's great to have someone who comes from an objective position who can sit there and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing, or have you considered? It's like, nah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. So everyone needs someone or people to be able to then contribute in to your success. Just go back to the point you said before about taking action. Well, it's the old case of, I grew up with the saying of knowledge is power, but Tony Robbins has added a word in there, which is knowledge is potential power. It's potential power because if you choose not to put your boots on and get on the field, then what does it really matter? Because there's no shortage of information at our fingertips, whether it be you want to do mindset or whether it be you want to do property investing or property development or start a small business or be an entrepreneur. Google it up. There's so many places that you can do this, but the real test, the real training comes when you actually put the boots on and you get on the field, because no amount of YouTube or books or podcasts can prepare you for the day-to-day grind, what is, your business, your career, life, etc.
We've got Mark that's come on, Mark Navin. We've also had Reese come on and Melissa. Good to have you on. Also, there's a guy really likes the idea of speed coaching, thinks it's awesome. So maybe you might be able to pop in as someone who can get some coaching tips along the way. So that might be a good one for you to think about, Guy. Yep. Something to look forward to that gives you hope in the future, like ambition. So, and also another Tony is joined as well. So, there's
that last comment about hope and ambition is that whole purpose thing, right? That's it. It's like, what's that something that's in front of you? Because if you haven't got something in front of you to bound out of bed for, then this is where people do not do anything. They do dwell on the past. They do feel that they're stuck. So it's about having that something that's in front of you to constantly work towards. And like I said, it doesn't have to be 5 years down the track. It could be a day. It could be a week. It could be a month. It's just something that's in front of you to work towards.
Absolutely. And we've got Lizzie's come on as well, Edwin, and a few others that have joined. Big crowd on today, which we absolutely love. Tony, I did speak about the slowness and or increasing speed. What are your thoughts around that during this lockdown period?
Yeah, well, it comes down to balance. So the balance of look after yourself, be kind to yourself, be conscious of what you're thinking about right now, because there's a lot of people who are really struggling right now under the wave of anxiety, fear, uncertainty. So you want to be kind to yourself. You always want to look after yourself, but then also leverage the time. So it's almost like a two-speed economy, right? Leverage the time that you have to do things, but remember that if you go all out in one way, then you're gonna run out of steam, right? And I see people who are getting sick, and I'm not talking COVID-19. I'm saying just sick, because they're constantly going. You have to look after yourself. Without a healthy body and a healthy mind, then it doesn't really matter. Like, if you're not healthy, then what's the point? So my advice to everyone is get yourself right first. Luke's run 800 and whatever days it is in succession. I have a morning mindset routine that I go through. Get yourself right first, so fill your cup up, so then you can go and do all the wonderful things that you want to do. So it's about balancing. Luke, is the key for me.
Tony says Mark Navin says Tony Meredith is to be the Aussie Tony Robbins.
Well, I call him the other Tony, actually. So that's what I call him. No one else does.
Oh, fantastic!
That's what I call him.
That fantastic. Well, Tony, why don't we get into the little bit of discussion around the topic today? How do you handle the lockdown? What do you do in lockdown? First thoughts around in a positive way. Things like kindness, giving, helping, sharing. I know you did say about getting to the perspective of filling your cup up first, but I guess kindness for yourself, giving to yourself, helping yourself.
Yep.
And that might be that balance you're talking about of slowing down, speeding up and things like that, and having that balance around things and caring for yourself. So that's where it might start. I'm guessing is the direction that you'd probably be going.
All right. So I call it's two words. It's called personal priority. It's called putting yourself first. Now, before people watching scream at me and say, isn't that being selfish? No, it's not. And I touched on it before. It's about getting yourself in a great headspace, getting yourself physically right, so that you can give an enormous amount to others. So you're right, Luke, be kind to yourself. And I'll give you an example, right? And so it's like, well, if you've got a goal to do something and you fall off, for whatever reason, you have an off day, it doesn't quite work out, guess what? Tomorrow's a new day. So don't beat yourself up. You had a bad day. We all have them. I have them all the time, right? It's about tomorrow. Make sure that you get up, you get back into it, and you get on with it. Where people go wrong is one bad day turns into a second bad day, turns into a third, a fourth, and a fifth, and now it's all too hard, and I can't start again because I've lost momentum, and you know what? I'm going to give up. If you have an off day, that's okay. You have an off day. We're all human. We have human frailties. Be kind to yourself, and then get back on with whatever it is that you were doing. Because the beautiful thing is that tomorrow is always an opportunity for a fresh start.
I'm kind of interested in the whole idea about, what everyone, all the viewers that are doing during lockdown. Are you, what kind of methods and things are you putting in place? So, for everyone who's sitting out there right now watching us,
Yep.
what kind of
Yep.
things are you doing in terms of maybe kindness or helping? Whether that's for yourself
Sure.
or other people. I've done a little bit more stretching and a little bit more yoga during this lockdown, and that's something that's worked for me. I've had some practices around that self-care, and Guy says he always practices self-care, so that's an important one. So maybe Tony can think about on the back of some of these comments about how we can give then the kindness, the help, the caring, and all that sort of thing. And Guy says, how can my mother work on, I think what he's saying, how can my mother work on her self-care without, how can my mother, you might have to rephrase that, Guy, so maybe get onto that one. And Sean says, spot on, Tony, so some good comments that everyone's reflecting on right now, which is really good. So what about some kindness for other people?
We'll give you an example. So I deal with a whole range of small businesses, and one of the things that I've said to them, now is a very tricky time to be trying to sell, right? Because there's a lot of people who are going through some really tough times, and so to be there overtly selling could come across as being quite insensitive. So what I'm suggesting to my clients is, why don't you call up your clients, say good day. Say good day. How are you coping? Just simply go in there with zero expectation other than, I'm just calling up to see how you're going, how you're coping, how's the team going, what are you doing? Just simply call up and say hello. Because here's the thing, what that does, you might get a sale today, but that's okay, because this is all about, and should always be about, playing the long game. So the long game is, I'm going to build a really sticky and tight relationship with that particular person, and I genuinely care. I genuinely care about the person on the other end of the phone, and I want to make sure that they're okay. So that's something that I have done with my clients, and in turn that's something that I have encouraged my clients to do as well, is just to simply pick up the phone and say hello, or send an email that just simply says, "G'day, how are you? I'm thinking of you. Reach out if I can help you in any way, shape or form." We touched on it a couple of weeks ago. It's a bit like the "Are you okay" day, right? It's there's that one day a year that reminds us to call people up and say, "Are you okay?" Well, I'm going to suggest, let's see if we can all do that on a daily basis. Why don't you find someone in your life that you can call up and just say, "Are you okay?" Right? And so I'm talking about it from a business perspective, but you can do it from a personal perspective. Right? Don't wait for one time a year. I think it's towards the end of the year. I'm not exactly sure what the day is, but we shouldn't have one day where we do it and 364 where we don't. What about if we did 365? I think this year's a leap year. 366 where we do, where we just go, what, I'm going to find one person. So between now and next Sunday, why don't you have some homework? I'm going to give you homework now. Why don't you do an "Are you okay" week? One person a day for the next 7 days, and report back to Luke and I next Sunday. It's I don't think that's overly cumbersome, and see how the impact that you have on others and how that makes you feel. But have those phone calls with simply an expectation of, I'm here to help, I'm here to give.
That's a good one. Christine, good to have you on. Guy says, mother cannot mother their children without self-care. Totally agree. If they're not in a good space, what kind of energy and that are they going to bring onto their kids? And kids are very receptive to these things as well. So that's an important one.
But the thing, I agree, Guy. But the thing I'll say to that is that a lot of mothers don't self-care, right? And so this is the problem. A lot of mothers, and not just mothers, fathers as well, and people generally, will race around flat out all day, and they'll get to the end of the day and they'll be buggered. Absolutely buggered, and they wouldn't have given as well as they could have during the day. And so I'm going to suggest to people that why don't you start your day by putting yourself first, and this could take 5 minutes. Just start to put yourself first. Start some really simple things you can do every day. 3 things that you're grateful for, because what we tend to do is we think about the things that we haven't got, the things that we've missed. And so right now I'm missing the fact that I can't go to the pub, or I'm missing the fact that I can't go and have a meal with my friends, or all these things that I'm missing, and I'm coming at it from a position of lack. What about if you just flip that around and say, what are 3 things that I'm actually grateful for? So, for example, what could I be grateful for during COVID-19? Well, I'm grateful for the fact that there is a time. I'm grateful for the fact that there is more and more virtual opportunities now, that I'm able to stay in touch with people that perhaps, through physical boundaries, I wasn't able to do. There's just a couple that you can come up with. And there's so many more that you can come up with when you just stop and think about, what am I grateful for, as opposed to what is it that I'm upset that I haven't got or missing out on.
Absolutely. That's a sense of lack. What else we got? Tony said, establish my daily routine. So that's a really good, Tony, that he's doing during the lockdown period. So one of Tony's clients, Tony Gallagher, doing some great stuff. Guy says, total alcohol stop during lockdown, 7K a day. So I don't know whether that's run or walk, and it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's
7K, right?
It's 7K.
And the fact that he's doing a total alcohol stop, that's impressive. It's a good commitment. So for those who know me well, you know that I haven't had a drink for over 3 years now. So
probably about the time I started running.
There might be something in that.
We didn't even know that we were on that same path there, Tony.
That's it.
Maybe that's kind of an interesting one.
We can have a dual celebration on your 1,000th, right? You do your 1,000th run, and I can celebrate the fact that I've been sober for 1,000 days.
So do we swap or something, or
what? I get on the booze to celebrate, do I?
No, I stopped running.
No.
And I stopped running.
Too funny.
Both are not going to happen. Guy says totally. They totally don't. They guilt themselves into in when they think about self-care. They are being selfish. It's craziness. So yeah, they kind of guilt themselves, mothers and or fathers, in regards to, and just saying it's all about the kids and so forth, rather than thinking about how they can be so much better. Then actually that will work it works in the reverse, where it actually puts on a better space, a better energy in the household. It puts on more smiles. And then the kids can look up to someone, right?
Absolutely, because the kids are looking, right?
What are they going to be inspired by? Angriness, upset. Someone just working all the time and doing that. It's counterintuitive for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Good comments coming through today, Luke.
Excellent ones.
Keep it coming, guys and girls. I'm loving it.
Yeah, so for those who are just coming on, Julian's just joined us. What are you doing in lockdown and thinking about for yourself? Is that there's some slowness? Are you speeding things up? We've just spoken about kindness, giving, helping, sharing. Are you doing it for yourself first? Are you actually doing it for others? The second point I come up with, Tony, is in regards to clarity, vision, direction, and path. So what are your thoughts around this? And this is a big one in terms of coaching side of things, but how are you thinking around this for people?
Well, it's goal setting, right? And I know that people, when they hear goal setting, some people go, a bit yawn worthy, snooze worthy. But goals are so important, because go back to the point that I made earlier, and if you've just tuned in, you've got something to aim towards. You've got a target, and that target, it doesn't need to be a year down the track. It might be a target that's for this week. I just said before, why don't you call up one person for 7 days and report back. Have a target for yourself. The clearer that you can be with things, the easier it is to know if you're on or off target. And I'll give you the example. So, when you go to a new destination, you don't just type in the suburb and hope that you miraculously arrive at the destination that you wanted to find. It's like a GPS. You type in the street number, the street name, the suburb, and guess what? The GPS navigates you exactly where you want to go. No different with your life. The clearer that you can be with the target that you've got for yourself, the easier it is going to be to know that you're heading towards something. Because a lot of people say, well, I want some sales growth in my business. Well, if you grew by $1, well, technically that's sales growth, but I reckon that's not what you're intending. So it's about being specific. It's saying, well, you know what, I want to grow my business by 15%, or I want to be able to, run 4 days a week for a kilometre, or whatever it might be. But wherever you are, it's just about having something that you can aspire towards. It's that target to aim towards. Because here's the thing: if you aim at nothing, what do you get? You get nothing, right? So
what about the clarity piece? I guess bringing a little bit of stillness on the balance side of the other side of the balance in terms of speeding up and so forth, but slowing down, having that clarity, having that stillness. Things like journaling, things like just looking outside and taking some time out away from your phone and your computer and calls and things like that.
Well, this is part of the morning routine that I go through. So Tony Gallagher who's on, Davina who's on, they'll know what I'm talking about. But it's all around being mindful. So anxiety is where we get worried about what's in the future. We worry about it. And depression is where we get stuck on the thing that's in the past. But when you're mindful, then you're starting to be present. So to your point, it's the old saying of stop and smell the roses. So allow yourself a few minutes. It doesn't have to be for an hour. You don't have to become a Buddhist monk-like and meditate for an hour. It could be take a few minutes in your day to actually stop and smell the roses. I would encourage you, because you haven't formed the routine, I would suggest if you use a calendar invite in your phone, give yourself 5 minutes. Say to yourself, it might be at a particular time during the day that suits you. You may be a morning person, you may not be, it doesn't really matter. But find 5 minutes in your day that says, it might say, be thankful. And that time every day it comes up and says, be thankful. Or it might be mindful. So at that time every day, it reminds you to just stop and just go, yeah, you know what? And I'm appreciative of the fact that I'm here looking at my garden and the birds are in the trees, or whatever it is. It's stop and smell the roses, whatever that might be for you. But try and use some other technologies to remind you to create the habit. But look, it's so important. It's so important to be focused on the right here and right now, as opposed to getting anxious about what may or may not happen. And in the majority of cases, how often does it not actually happen? Right? So go back even 4 weeks. There was enormous pandemonium and hysteria around, what may be happening here in Australia. Look, I'm not close to the political decisions, but I've got to say that from the facts, from the data, it looks very encouraging. Certainly looks very encouraging comparatively to other parts of the world. So, congratulations to all of us for playing our part. But go back 4 weeks, I'll guarantee you that the majority of people were fearing the absolute worst, that the sky was going to cave in. And so, how often does that happen? Not just with COVID-19, with plenty of things in your life where you get yourself fearful or so worked up about something. And then you go and do it. And you come out the other side and you go, well, that wasn't that bad at all. But it happens all the time. It might be public speaking. It might be asking that boy or girl out. It might be picking up and having that sales call or the difficult conversation with someone or whatever it is. We always default to the very, very worst case scenario. And in the majority of cases, it never gets anywhere near that.
Easy peasy, mate. Everything's easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Easy peasy.
Guy says, you can only change what you measure. You need to know what your current state is and the future and the future with measurements. See the COVID numbers as a perfect example. So
which is what we talked about, right?
That's right.
Which is what we talked about. And from a measurement point of view, one of the things that you can do is you can, from emotions, you can give yourself, how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. How am I feeling about today on a scale of 1 to 10? And you can track those sorts of things. You might measure yourself during the day. There's plenty of things that you can do. And then also it's about noting that, well, you know what, I'm feeling a 5 today. Then I'd go to the next question, which is, well, why are you feeling a 5? What are the triggers around you that are causing you to feel a 5 today? And then another question you might ask is, what are the things that I need to do to feel a 9? Not quite a 10, but gee whiz, a 9's pretty good. What would I need to do, or what would need to happen for me to feel a 9? Okay, great. And so now I'm starting to think about the things.
Tony, just to play the devil's advocate on this one, because people are going to just default back to the things that do make them have pleasure that they can maybe not necessarily do right now. And that might be to go to a restaurant with friends. It might be to go to the beach, and Bondi Beach is closed at the moment, but not many other beaches are. But, some of those things that we are restricted about, people default into things. And what I'm seeing a lot of is people talking on social media around, and it's kind of good to get a flavour of what people are experiencing through not only what they say in posts, but what they're sharing, the underlining message. But a lot of boredom's coming in around that. I'm not getting to a state where I'm even thinking about boredom at all in my scope, because I'm constantly, there's so much for me to actually explore and do and so forth. But I guess that's part of my DNA. But with some people, they can get bored really easy.
Okay, well, but that's because they're using the 2019 paradigms. It's not 2019 anymore. We don't have the things that you talked about. We haven't got them. I didn't make the decision to shut it all down, but it shut down. And so it's about, you can whinge and whine and complain about the fact that your favourite restaurant's closed, or you can accept the fact that your favourite restaurant's closed, but what can I do differently now that it's closed? Because, see, the thing is, that decision is out of your control, right? So we no longer have the control over that. It's about, what is it that I can control? So you talk about you're not feeling bored. Well, you're not feeling bored because you've adapted. Right, so you're a high energy guy regardless, but then you've adapted. You said, well, okay, well, this is now the new normal, and however long this is going to be for, who knows? But what can I do now with the new normal to satisfy my own needs of high levels of energy and high levels of activity? So for people who are sitting there whinging and whining about the fact that the restaurant's not open and because it's closed, and I'm going to do nothing, well, you're going to come out the other end of this and you're going to have an enormous amount of regret. And so it's about accepting that it's not open. Trust me when I say it sucks. I don't think for one moment that being stuck at home is a whole lot of fun, right? So yes, it would be wonderful.
Well, you're introverted, Tony.
Sorry?
You're introverted, so you love being at home.
No, but my point is that, it would be nice to go to a restaurant, or it would be nice to go to a movie, or it would be nice to, go to the shops, and it'd be nice to go and sit, congregate with friends and all those sorts of things. Does that make sense? So it would be great. But it's out of my control. It's out of my control.
It just depends how quickly you can tack, right? It's like a sailing.
That's what it is.
It's like a yacht, right? Sailing yacht. And do you want to be left behind still in the bad wind, or do you want to put the spinnaker up and set sail and go downwind, and you're with that stronger gust? And I guess that's where the adapt or die method, like Guy has just said about it, and hello to Phil, and he's waving there. Good to see you on, and Julian and a few others. So I think it does think about for me, and I don't know whether it's something within us sometimes, Tony, because people are able to adapt quicker than others. And I just think it's more for me, it seems to be like a subconscious thing. It's like, well, what do I need to do now? How do I need to improve now? What do I need to be doing that can actually put me in a better place now? And that's been a constant with me, and I'm okay with that for me. But I'm reflecting on other people now that don't have the same DNA as me, and then they struggle to move that step forward with what's been thrown on them.
Sure. Well, it's 100% a subconscious thing, right? So subconscious for you, your subconscious is allowing you to do the things that you do. It's 100% subconscious. That is, your subconscious mind is your operating system, right? And so for you then, It's about starting to understand how do I change some of my old paradigms, some of my old operating systems. And how you do it is through conscious awareness. And we talk about it. I heard you the other night talking about the 2 questions that you asked. You reflect how you're going. You want to be aware of, well done to you, mate. I was so delighted when I heard you say that.
Here we go. I did a Facebook Live for everyone who didn't watch. I did a Facebook Live, and I spoke about Tony's 2 questions that he asked everyone again.
Yeah.
Ask yourself each day. Scott Kirby, good to have you on as well. And you're going to repeat those in a moment, but we've got a couple of people. Joseph Durrani's come on. Philip says, I have lost weight on a health kick. Well done, Philip. Good on you, mate.
Good stuff.
Tony Gallagher says, great metaphor, Luke. That was in relation to the yacht and tacking when you need to adapt, and how do you move forward? Well, you tack absolutely. With where the better winds are, right?
Where the wind is, yeah.
Guy says, imagine an interview at the end of this. What did you do in your last 6 months off life? You say, I ate, I put on 200 kilos and I watched Netflix. So
I agree.
That could be a potential. Off the rubbish food and the carbs. Well, if anyone saw my 2-course degustation menu last night, it's not really degustation, only 2 courses, but I had a purple skin sweet potato. I had to Google it to find out what I was eating.
Yeah,
I thought that was a special name or something. And also some cabbage. So I did follow it up with a couple of slices of toast that were, a bit of Vegemite and so forth afterwards. But that aside...
Are you going meat-free, are you?
No, it's just every now and then. Like, I just went to the Bondi markets, and it's like a fresh food market. More so vegetables and fruits. And so I just went down there and I just gather up some fruits and vegetables on a Saturday and then stack up for the week, and then get out there and peel them and cut them and dice them and then put them in and just boil them up, and a bit of splash of oil and salt and pepper, a little bit oregano, and nice plain Jane stuff.
Can you, because I haven't been doing a lot on Facebook lately, but it seems every time I do just see what's going on in the world, I'm copying, lots of episodes of Luke TV. I'm wondering if Luke TV can expand into Luke's cooking hour. I mean, that sounded very nice, what you were talking about, mate. So,
I'm getting a lot of yuck and oh my God here. They're not big fans. It's very plain food, right? It goes back to basics. And I think this is where we are right now, Tony. We are actually going back to basics. And, it reminds me of, Captain Cook coming out here and to Australia. And obviously a lot of what they ate was, things like sauerkraut and things like that. And to hold back the issues with scurvy, which was a big thing in terms of ships coming out to Australia. So to keep healthy and well, and Mum says I need more meat apparently, but well, say that to a vegan or a vegetarian. It's not the case. You look better than me.
So I don't eat meat. So I don't eat meat. I haven't eaten meat for a couple of years actually. So I'm what they call a pescatarian. So I eat fish and then plenty of veggies and plenty of ice cream, of course. But yeah, so I eat fish. Don't eat any red meat. And look, I've done that for a personal choice.
It's really interesting that people associate meat with weight.
It's associate meat a lot with protein as well, which is a bit of a fallacy because sure, but there's other ways that you can get protein as well, and there's plenty of meat-free bodybuilders out there who are doing exceptionally well, vegetarian or vegan bodybuilders. So you need a lot of protein to obviously build some of those big muscles, and they're able to find it through a variety of sources. But I want to know, what are the 2 questions? I'm hanging off. No,
you go ahead and say it. It's your lines. I'll let you go ahead and say it. But I did mention it during a Facebook Live during the week.
It was, and I was cheering. I was cheering as I watched. It was fantastic. So it's all about elevating from your subconscious mind to conscious awareness. A couple of questions you can ask yourself: what did I do well? And what can I do differently? And so you ask that on a daily basis. Reflect back over the day. Now you can also take it a step further. Luke touched on journaling, so you may want to journal this now, right? You don't have to, but that takes it to another level. But I'm now reflecting back on the things that I'm doing. And I'll give you a good example where this plays out, right? So, how often do you drive from your work to your home, and you drive, and because you've driven that way all the time, and you'll arrive home in your garage, and you go, how did I get home? I didn't think about it, right? Or I use the other example where, when someone cuts you off in traffic, what's your automatic response? And for a lot of people, it's flipping birds and, clenching fists and getting angry and honking horns and all these types of things. That's your. I know it's not for you, mate, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, that's your automatic response. That's your default, right? So it's all about changing your default. You've got to change your subconscious thinking, your subconscious patterns. Okay, and you start to do that by being consciously aware. Now, just because you're aware of something still doesn't mean that you are going to change, but at least you now have the choice. So it's like, I'm aware that I'm acting with fear, I'm procrastinating, or I've got doubts, or whatever it might be. Now you can still choose not to do something about it, or my suggestion would be, well, now that you're aware of that, and if you're not happy with it, why don't you choose to do something about it? And it's not a, hey, I thought about it one night and I'm miraculously cured, right? Personal development is a lifelong commitment. So I don't want you to think that, well, Tony said ask 2 questions, journal something down, and by Monday, then it's all.
So what are the 2 questions, Tony, for those that are coming on?
The two questions are, what did I do well, and what can I do differently? And I deliberately ask it that way. It's not what was I bad at, what was I crap at, what can I do differently? Because I want you to constantly be moving in a forward direction.
Interesting. I put a post up yesterday on a video I did 3 years ago on a 1 minute property minute video.
Right.
Super interesting to see the activity during that time, and very awkward to watch back.
Yeah, but what I'll say about that, I didn't watch the video. I did sort of skim through it. I saw it there. I was just having a bit of a flick. But what I would say about that, mate, is that for everyone out there, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. And so, Luke, 3 years ago, did a video, and I remember seeing last year. I did watch your, I think it was one of your first videos, or certainly one that you shared anyway. And he started, and it was a very different Luke, and it was a very awkward Luke and whatnot. But it's called progression, right? And he's done it each and every day, and multiple times a day, and that's how you get better at something. And the same with physical activity, or the same with public speaking, or the same with doing sales calls.
Really interesting during the week, Tony. One person I'm trying to get him on. I probably can come on tomorrow night to do a video. But this is a guy that followed me on social media, saw that I've been running 7K a day. He started running, and he started with doing 5Ks, 30 days in a row.
Yep.
And he went through the 30 days, did 5Ks every day. He's in the real estate arena. And he goes, it just helps me so much with, some of the struggles that they're going through right now. Perfect. But on top of that, the first 5Ks took him 54 minutes. And that's almost walking speed. So a little bit funny right now. You can say that for me, who runs every day, but he brought that time down from 54 minutes down to half the time, 27 minutes.
Which is perfect, right?
And this is what you're talking about, progress, right?
I'm saying 2 things. I'm saying get started. Just get started. That's the very first thing. Take that very first step. Chinese proverb: journey of 1,000 miles begins with 1 step. You just got to take one. See, the problem is, Luke, a lot of people don't even take the first step. A lot of people, I used the analogy before around got to get on the field. A lot of people will sit up in the stands, they'll throw stones, they'll do research, they'll watch videos, they'll read books, but they don't want to get on the field. You've got to take the first step. Then once you take the first step, take a second step, take a third step. And wherever you are, like if you're at 54 minutes for 5K, guess what? That's bloody awesome. Because there's so many people who aren't doing 5Ks, right? And you don't have to do 5Ks. If you're sitting at home and you go, I can't do 5Ks, don't do 5Ks. Do 1K, do 500 metres. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is where you finish, right? But you've just got to start, and you've got to do something. So wherever you are is quite all right. This is about having PBs or personal bests, right? It's about going, you know what? I'm going to do something, and then I'm going to slowly but surely work on it, and here you go. In the space of a month, this guy that you're talking about has slashed his time in half in the space of a month through consistent and persistent effort. Or it's an acronym, it's called CAPE. So put your cape on. So for those who are in my little community, we talk about put your cape on, your Superman cape on, or your Supergirl cape on, but it's consistent and persistent effort. That is the magical superpowers. Right.
Love it. Consistent and persistent effort. Incessant. I used to say incessant persistence.
Yep. It's all the same. It's all about just consistently do something. You know what? It's funny, right? So now that I'm a lot older, and I think back to the things that we were taught as kids, it's like the tortoise and the hare. You know, and at the time you think, oh, it's a bit of a fable and blah, 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 blah. And now I look back and I go, you know what? I get it. Because how many people...
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
You see this at the start of every year, right? The 1st of January. People get so motivated and they sprint, right? They sprint out of the starting gates. And what happens in week 2 or week 3? They're buggered, right? They run out of steam. They lose motivation. Whatever. Whereas someone's just gradually going along, consistent persistence, the tortoise, and the tortoise wins. And it's fascinating how these are things that we're taught as kids, and yet now I'm just starting to get it, and I'm 47.
Yeah.
I've probably been getting it for the last few years, but certainly took me a long time.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon,
100%. And I actually did the marathon more for the mental side of things than anything else. And I just wanted to go through that journey of training for a marathon and doing a marathon. Guy says impossible problems are only impossible until solved. So that's a really good one. Julian says, Mum, my mother, needs to give you some Zoom cooking lessons apparently. So maybe we can do a dual thing on Zoom. Mum and I is what Julian's suggesting there.
I think it'd be fascinating TV, mate. I just think it would add yet another string to the bow, a string to the loop.
Well,
TV.
I did interview my mother once, and she laughed through the whole thing. She just thought it was absolutely hilarious. So she's quite the character when she's highly motivated and excitable. Tony Gallagher says basic food is great food, and some really good comments around the whole thing about eating and so forth. Really basic ideas around that. But Tony, you want to move forward towards the third point item that we've got in towards what are you doing during lockdown? And this is a big one, I guess, for you and what you do with small business is the thing around education and personal development, which is pretty much what we've been working on in terms of the personal development and doing obviously the education by talking about some of these issues that people are going through right now. So what's your thoughts around this?
Well, my thought is to go back to a comment I made earlier, which is we have an enormous amount of time. So if you're a small business owner or if you're an employee, it doesn't really matter. What are the things that you can be doing now with that time? Like the government is opening up, free training. There's all sorts of free training for people. It's an opportunity to, reskill. This is a really great time because prior to this, we've been going through the motions, or perhaps you've been going into a job in the city and perhaps you've gotten the train and caught into the city and worked all day in the city and come home, and you've just always done that. You've done it because you've always done it. And you've never had the opportunity to stop and go, you know what, is that what I really want to be doing with my life? Like I'm now at this point, this is a really good time to pause. And so there's all sorts of training things that you can be doing, right? So whether it be, upskill yourself in different areas, and the government's made it very accessible to get online, and other training bodies are making it very accessible to get online and learn new things, which is important. So what am I doing specifically? I'm planning my business out. I'm writing an online program is what I'm doing at the moment. And that'll be coming out in the next month. I'm very excited about that. But I encourage everyone to use this time to educate yourself, to upskill yourself, to learn new things. It's a wonderful, wonderful time. You're probably never going to get this time like this ever again in your life. And a lot of people are going to come out the other end of this and they're going to regret it. I truly believe that. They're going to go, gosh, I wasted that opportunity. I sat there and I whinged and whined, watched Netflix and put on weight and everyone else has moved ahead. And now I'm so far behind, and now I'm going to feel even worse because I'm so far behind.
Yeah, and some really good points. Any suggestions that you would want to say in terms of the personal development side of things?
Well, the personal development, I mean, we've sort of weaved it into the things that we've talked about, but I would say to people, one of the most powerful, two powerful things that I attribute to me and my success. First one is accepting 100% responsibility. So that is, let's take, for example, COVID-19. I didn't start COVID-19, right? But I accept 100% responsibility for how I respond to COVID-19. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I can't change the fact that this thing has happened. I can't change the fact that government has made the restrictions and the decisions that they have. What I can do is what am I going to do about it? So that's the very first thing, is accept 100% responsibility for your actions. The next one, and I touched on it earlier, is be grateful. Be grateful. Look for the things that you have as opposed to the things that you don't have. Because you want to sit there and think about the things that you don't have. Well, we could go on for days thinking about the things that we don't have, but how's that going to make you feel? I'm going to tell you, it's going to make you feel pretty shit. But when you think about the things that you do have, and you go, you know what, I have got some cool stuff. Yeah, you know, I mightn't be where I mightn't be at my goal yet, but geez, I've got a lot of great things. Geez, I'm appreciative for a whole range of things. And now I'm starting to change my mindset. I'm developing an attitude of gratitude. So if you do nothing else from a personal development point of view, I'd encourage you to do two things. Start to think about how can I accept responsibility for my actions, not responsibility for what's happened to you, because it's happening to all of us. But it's about how do I deal with it next. And the next is to be grateful. Be grateful for the things that you have. If you want to throw a third in there, I touched on it about 5 minutes ago. That is, do your daily reflective questioning. Start to elevate and challenge yourself to get out of your subconscious and move to your conscious. You see, 90% of the things that we do happen automatically. We don't need to think about breathing. We don't need to think about a number of responses that we do. They just happen automatically, and they've happened that way because we've built this habit. This habit has been with us for 1 year, 5 years, 10, 20 years, maybe our whole life. We've built this habit. And so if we want any chance of changing, we have to elevate to our conscious awareness to be aware of what we're doing. Now that we're aware of what we're doing, what am I going to do about it next?
Some really good points that we've made today in terms of what you might be thinking about doing during lockdown. We discussed about the kindness, the caring, the sharing, and that's maybe with yourself or also with other people. Thinking about that level of clarity, direction, path that might be that you might be working on, some stillness during this time, and also the education and the personal development side of things. So maybe one of those ones might be good for you. Maybe it might be all three that you're working on. You know, what's one thing? What's one thing that people really want to take out of today? And while I say that, Guy says COVID-19 is a 1 in 700 year event. So in 2619. We'll get this again. Good on you, Guy.
So we won't get it, right? So we'll be long gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is the whether whether it be that or what. But it's a moment in time where there is an enormous opportunity, and so you can look at it. If I had a glass, it's the old glass half full, glass half empty, and we're going to look at this time as being negative and pessimistic and skies caving in. I'm going to look at this for the opportunity that is. Now, I accept that people are dying, and I accept that people are getting sick, and that's incredibly tragic.
Losing their jobs
sad.
and all that
things. I accept all of that. But here's the thing, right? If you've gone and lost your job, you've lost your job. I'm not trying to downplay it, but you've lost your job. That's in the past. So do you want to be looking backwards at the job that you had and wishing you were back there? Or again, it comes back to, I have to accept, sadly, that I've lost my job. Now what am I going to do about it? And I've heard so many great stories where people have lost their job and have gone, right, I'm not going to rely on the government. I'm going to get up off my backside and we go and look for another job. And there are a lot of jobs out there. They may not be the job of your choosing. I get that. But it's a job. And right about now, is it better to have a job than no job at all? And I'm going to argue it's better to have a job. So it could be a job cleaning. It could be a job delivering. It could be a job filling shelves. There's businesses that are still operating. right? Now, where there's a will, there's a way. So if you want to go get a job, you get out there and get a job. There are jobs out there. It's just you may need to accept the job that perhaps isn't necessarily a job that you want, but right about now, it's a job that you need.
Yeah, and it goes back to your two questions, Tony. It was like, what did I do well during that time of, running that job? What was I really good at?
Yeah.
And then what can I actually do differently now? So thinking about the new plan for people is if we haven't had a recession in Australia for 29 years, right? And there's been a false sense of living and how things work. And now we're in a deep recession that we're going to experience now. So people got to think about what I did well in the past and what I can actually do differently now to improve in my situation. At Search Party Property, we've been banging on about the whole thing about having buffers in place, saving for a rainy day, buying investment properties so that, at times like this, you might be in a situation where that you're in a better financial position. And even if you do lose your job, it's not dire straits for you. You can put yourself in a position of, okay, I can see out the next couple of months. I can go and do some part-time work. I can go and help out and volunteer during this time, replenish and have something good for myself during this time. And when times get back to normal, then I can go out there and work 1, 2, or 3 jobs. Or maybe I need to do something completely different, like you said, and be a cleaner or a delivery driver or whatever it might be right now, and just put yourself out there. I had someone ask me about the other day. It was like, oh, I'm looking for a job, looking for work. I go work for free. And then maybe you're on a commission basis or something, and it's like you work and toil and push hard during these times that you can actually do something for someone else, and those favors get repaid. Those favors do get repaid.
So exactly right, Luke. Think about how I'm not saying you, but I'm saying people. Think about how you can go and add value to someone else. And like you said, if you go and do it for free, or maybe you do it based on success. If you're a salesperson, or if you might want to get out there and approach a company and say, you know what, I'm going to call your list of clients. Call them up, and you know what, you do it based on success only. But you're out there, you're doing something, and like you said, in the long term, that will be recognised. Something else that I just thought of is, so I do some work. My largest client is in the franchise industry. They're getting a lot of calls at the moment for people to buy franchises. Right, so here's the great thing: is that people have got this pause. They perhaps have lost their job, maybe they've been remote redundant, whatever it might be. They're now going, you know what? Do I really want to go back to that? Do I really want to go back to being stuck in an office, grinding it out, working for someone else, or do I want to put destiny in my own hands? And I've been really interested by the number of inquiries for people wanting to get a franchise. Right about now, it's been very, very positive. But I put it down to the fact that people have had this change thrust upon them. Now they're stopping and going, what do I want? Take this as it's like a game of sport. This is half time. So we're in the sheds, we're eating the oranges. What do you want to do in the second half? Do you want to keep doing the same stuff that you did in the first half, or do you want to do something very different? The choice is yours.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Jeff, good to have you on as well. We've been talking about things that are going on during lockdown. Is it things around kindness and giving so much to yourself and then so much to other people? Is it around clarity and vision and goals that you want to look at for yourself and maybe take those time outs to think about what you can do in future, and then think about the personal development and education piece so that you can build yourself up to something extraordinary. And that's what it's all about. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up for today, Tony? It's been a great session. We love lockdown, don't we, Tony?
We love it. We love it because we're making the most of it. Look, I just want to say make the most of it. The choice is yours. Make the most of it. I've given, for those who've been here for the whole time, you've been given plenty of homework today. So just to round it out, Are You OK Week? We've got Are You OK Week. So for the next 7 days...
So maybe we should be doing that too, Tony.
I'm doing it. That's why I'm already doing it. So that's what I'm saying is regards to I'm doing it with my clients and I'm getting my clients to do it and I'll keep doing it.
No, I think random.
Okay.
Random.
Let's all do it. Let's all dive in. There you go. Let's all dive in and do it. Okay. So Are You OK Week? 7 people over the next 7 days. Call them up. Are you okay? Let's report back and let's have a chat about it.
So
next
no,
Sunday.
like ex-girlfriends or anything like that.
Well, that's up to you. The choice is yours, right? So, accept 100% responsibility. Too funny. Have a great week.
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone. I really appreciate it. Bye.
All right, see you guys. We'll wrap it up for today. It's been a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.